Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I'm Joyce, also known as Beba, and this is Beba's Kitchen. I'm going to cook a pork shoulder butt roast, and this is Sunday afternoon. I was planning to do this yesterday and I got detained doing some other things and didn't have time to cook. So I am going to do this a little bit differently from what I normally would do. I'm going to put this in my pressure cooker, and I'm not sure how this is going to turn out, but I'm going to give it a try and see. And then I'm going to make a cake using up some strawberries that I have and doing my fluffy frosting that I make. I've made that cake before, not for you guys, but I have made the cake and put strawberries in the frosting, and it's so good. And right now the strawberries are coming in Florida, and they're so sweet and so delicious. And so I'm going to get started now, and we're going to see how this turns out. I'm just not too sure. But anyway, let me get started. This butt roast, it weighs almost 6 pounds. And so I'm going to take it over to the sink and I'm going to wash it, and then I'll put it into my pot. Actually, let me tell you that I had posted a video the other day asking some suggestions from you guys to maybe try to help me, and Jim Klett has responded to me. Jim responds frequently to me, and I appreciate his input. Jim, you said about cooking a cottage ham, and just so that you know, I'm not quite sure where you live. I don't know if it's in the Ohio area, but I researched about a cottage ham because I have never heard of a cottage ham. So needless to say, neither have any of the meat managers at the grocery stores here. I went yesterday and inquired about cottage hams. None of them have ever heard of it. But what I found online is that this evidently is a type of pork roast that people in Ohio process this. It said that it was usually smoke cured and also cured in a brine, but I have not been able to find one. So I'm just going to do a pork roast, and what I'm going to do actually before I put it in my pot here, let me take it out. I'm going to salt this really, really heavily because I'm going to add water to this and cook it, but I'm going to salt it and pepper it, and then I'm going to put it in the pressure pot, and voila, we're going to see what happens. Like I said, I don't know what will happen. I'm going to salt it really, really heavily so that all inside of the meat, hopefully while it's cooking, it will be salty through and through. I have a recipe that I would like to do for you one day with the pork roast, and it's a slow baked pork roast that you cook in the oven. But it requires quite a bit of time because you marinate it and then you cook it in a slow oven. But I'm going to place this with my fat side down in the pressure pot. Okay, you can see that I have salted and peppered it pretty heavy. So anyway, now I'm going to add water to this. I think probably just to the top of the meat with the water. I think that's good. Okay, I'm not going to add anything else to my pot at this time. I'm going to put the meat on and let it cook, and then after this is cooked, then I will take it out and probably put it in a Dutch oven or something with some vegetables to go along with this in its juice. So I'm gonna put it in the pot now, and let's get this started cooking. I've set it for 2 hours. I don't know, I don't really know how long it's going to take. But anyway, I've got it set for 2 hours, and we'll check it at that point and see if I need to cook it more or if I should have cooked it less. I doubt that. But anyway, we're going to get this started. Now I'm going to start on my cake. Okay, with my cake, I'm going to use my standard recipe that I use in most all of my cakes. And so to begin with, I'm going to cream my butter and shortening together. I will post the recipe below in the description box in case you are not familiar, if anyone's watching that's not familiar with my cake recipe. Okay, and now to this, I'm going to add 2 cups of sugar slowly. I'm going to beat that in, and then I'll beat it until it's really fluffy. Okay, it's nice and fluffy, so now I'm going to start adding my eggs. It takes 4 eggs, and so I'll add 1 egg at the time. Okay, now I'm going to add my flour mixture, which is flour, baking powder, and salt that I have whisked together. And I will alternate that with milk. So first thing I'm going to do is add about 1/3 of my flour mixture to this and beat it in. Then I'm going to pour in about 1/2 cup of milk. I'm going to add about another 1/3 of my flour mixture. And I'm going to add another 1/2 cup of milk. And now I'm going to add the remaining of my flour mixture. And the other day, whenever I was making a cake, and I always stress whenever I'm making a cake that you should always begin and end with your flour mixture. And so Johnny Mayo, which is a subscriber of mine, he asked me, why do you always begin and end with the flour mixture? I said, well, that's a really good question. You know, I've always read that you should begin and end. So, Johnny, I did some research. And the reason behind beginning and ending with your flour mixture is because it's all about the butter. That whipped butter and sugar mixture cannot absorb much liquid. So if you begin with liquid, or worse, if you add all the liquid, the butter will become saturated and the batter will separate and the liquid will stay on top. At that point, when you add your dry ingredients, adding the dry ingredients will absorb that liquid, but the resulting batter will be wrong and the cake will be heavy. So that is the reason behind putting your flour mixture in first and last. So there is your science explanation, Johnny Mayo. I hope that it serves well. I never knew either, but that's why. I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And I'm going to mix that in. Okay, and now I want to scrape down the sides of my bowl. Let's get all this flour down. Okay, I'm going to prepare my pans. I'm going to spray the sides with Baker's Joy, and then I'm going to use parchment paper. Well, I think this one is about empty. Let me get another one. Ooh, gosh. Okay, I'm going to put parchment paper down in the bottom. That way it kind of saves a little bit on my Baker's Joy. It's not super expensive, but it's not super cheap either. And so when I do a regular layer cake, I always do this. I do the parchment paper in the bottom and just spray the sides with the Baker's Joy. But when I'm doing my 10-layer cakes, I spray the whole thing because it's just easier for me rather than trying to do such a thin layer on a parchment paper. Okay, now with this one, I normally will make 4 layers, but I'm only making 3 because I don't want my cake to be this high. So you're probably saying, well, what's the difference? The difference is I'll have frosting in between the layers, and that's going to elevate my cake. So I'm going to divide this into 3 pans. And I think I've got a little much in that one. So, try to even it out. You all, please excuse my fingers. I know you don't see me doing it, but I wash my hands all the time. I am not handling this dough with dirty fingers. These will probably take about 25 minutes to bake. And so while they're baking, I'm going to prep my strawberries. I'll take them out and wash them and let them drain good, and then I'll slice them. It has been such a pretty day here today. It's been really, really warm. It's been like a summer day. Okay, these are ready to go in the oven, so I'm going to pop them in, and when they get done, I'll bring them out and put them on a cooling rack. I don't know what has happened to my audio again, but anyway, I have taken my cakes out of the oven. They have cooled, and so now I'm going to turn them out of the pan and remove the parchment paper. With the fluffy frosting, I'm going to put my egg whites in the bowl and get ready to beat those. I'm putting my sugar in the pot to make my syrup. It takes 1.5 cups of sugar, and then 1/2 cup of Karo and 1/4 cup of water, which I like to mix together so that the Karo is not stuck all to the cup. I can get all of it out. So I mix that together first, and then add this to my sugar after I have it mixed well. Then I will stir that together to mix the sugar and the syrup together so that the sugar is all wet and dissolved. Now I'm going to go ahead and beat my egg whites before I cook my syrup, because this won't take very long. I'm going to add a dash of salt to my egg whites, and I have beaten them to a stiff stage. You can see they don't move when you turn your bowl upside down. That's a stiffly beaten egg white. So my syrup has cooked now, and you can notice when you dip it up on the spoon that you get a little fine thread when it starts to thread. You want to cook it to a softball stage, so I'm testing it in my water, and it's ready. So I'm going to go ahead and slowly add my syrup to my egg whites while they're being beaten. You want to add it slowly so it doesn't cook the egg white. You just beat it until it's all incorporated and good and stiff. This is such a good frosting. It's like eating marshmallow cream. Okay, it's finished, and so now I'm going to get ready and ice my cake. I will put the frosting on and then top it with strawberries. As you can see here, this is where the parchment paper handle got folded back on it, and it looks like somebody took a bite out, but it's okay. I'll fill it in with frosting, but you have to really be careful about the ones that has the handles, because that can happen real easily. So I'm going to frost it now. I'll put the frosting on each layer, but I'll top the frosting with strawberries, as you'll see. Okay, I am finished with my cake, and it looks super delicious. So I'll do a taste test with this in just a few minutes. My roast has finished cooking in the pressure pot, so I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to put some vegetables in there, and I'm going to turn it back on and cook the vegetables real quick. So I'm going to bring it over so that you can see how it looks. Doesn't that look good? Smells wonderful. I'm going to let it rest for a little bit, and I'm going to put some vegetables in the broth and put it back on to cook, and then I'll cut the roast. Okay, I have put some red potatoes and some carrots into this, and I think probably I will cut up an onion and put in it as well. I'll just quarter this onion and put it in also. Okay, and I'm going to put it back on the pressure pot and let it cook for a few minutes, and then I'll do a taste test. I have decided, I think I'm also going to cook some rice to go with this. So I'm gonna take 1 cup of rice, and I'm going to rinse it until it runs clear. You want to get as much of that starch out of it as you can. So I'll just wash it until it starts to run clear. Okay, that looks good. The way I cook my rice is I do double the water. Every how much rice I'm cooking, I do twice as much water. I've done 1 cup of rice, so to that I added 2 cups of water, and I'm going to turn this to high. I'm going to salt it, and I also am going to add just a little bit of olive oil to my rice. I'm going to let this come to a full boil, and when it does, then I will turn the heat down to low, and I'll put a lid on it for 20 minutes, and then it will be done. Okay, the rice has come to a full boil, and so I'm going to turn the heat to low, and I'm going to put the lid on it and set my timer for 20 minutes. And when the timer goes off, the rice will be done. In fact, I'm going to turn the rice off. It will continue to cook. Okay, it's been 20 minutes, and my rice is done. You can see, falls apart. It doesn't stick together. So as soon as the vegetables get through, I'll plate some up and do a taste test. But I'm going to go ahead and start slicing up the roast. It's been resting for about 20 minutes, so I'm gonna slice it. It's very, very tender. This will also make some really good sandwiches. Let's see. Bone, as you can see, just slid right out. Man, that looks so good. Okay, my vegetables are done. The roast is sliced and the rice is done. And so I'm going to plate some up. I'm going to start with some rice. Get some of the roast. I'll get potatoes, carrots, and onion. I'm going to spoon some of this broth over my rice. Oh gosh, that looks and smells so good. That looks absolutely divine. That roast is so tender. My vegetables actually only cooked about 20 minutes, and as you can see, they're very done. And now for a taste test. I'm going to start with this roast. Oh my gosh, that is absolutely delicious. It is so tender, it will melt in your mouth. The broth on the rice, oh gosh, that's so good. I love that kind of a gravy, just the broth. It's just so delicious to me on rice. Sorry you're not here to join me. That is so good. I'm going to do a taste test now with my cake before I continue on with my meal, as hard as it is to stop. But I'm afraid it's going to tear up on me. Woo. Excuse me for licking my fingers. Man, that is so good. Doesn't that look yummy? Looks like a mess, doesn't it? But oh my gosh, that will be so good. Oh, that's delicious. If you have not subscribed to my channel, I would like to ask you to please subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you enjoy my videos, and click on the comment, leave me a comment, click on the bell so you'll get notification of a new video. And I will post these recipes below in the description box. And until the next time, this is Beba saying, may the Lord bless and keep you and your family safe. And until we meet again, I hope you have a great day or a great evening, because I'm planning to have one. Sorry you're missing out on all of this, but if you'll use the recipe and make one, I think you'd be well pleased. Have a great day, and I'll see you really soon. Bye.